Okay, guys, so let's start. Let's start. So today is a bit of a short session where we discuss task 1B on the Disney case study. So task 1B is a very simple task. Task 1B is probably the most simple task you will have out of all the questions. It's a very easy task. It has been questioned before word to word for the Vodafone case study. So I'm sharing many A-grade answers with you for the Vodafone case study, right? So let's get cracking. So before I get started, I want to share some analysis with you today. I shared the Excel sheet. Shall we quickly go through that? I shared the Excel sheet, right? I will now discuss some of the analysis with you. So let's start with first the context. We have discussed this. You are a consultant. You are a consultant for DPEP, Disney Parks, Experiences and Products. You are a marketing consultant, so you need to think in your role as a marketing consultant, not like a marketing executive. Okay. So in terms of the strategic audit tools, here are some tools from your syllabus, but you can use tools outside this also if you want to. But how many tools you have to use depends on the questions that we have. So if you feel you are doing a tool, but you don't have a question to link it to, then don't use that tool. Because the purpose of every strategic audit tool is to do some analysis or to analyze and find insights so that you can link it to the answer. So if you do any analysis, but you cannot link it to an answer, there's no purpose for the audit tool. So you can benchmark A grades, the world prize winning answers to see the length and breadth of each tool. Don't overdo it because you have many tools to use. So SWOT analysis, we have discussed this in detail. Please make sure you keep it short, maybe 3/4 page or maximum 1 page for your SWOT analysis. You can analyze the key issues from the SWOT analysis, and you can put it in some table and show some insights. Understand the critical success factors in the industry. If you want to, if you think you can link it somewhere, you can create some 5-year goals and objectives or priorities. We have discussed all this. We then came into a discussion of the macro environment analysis and scenario planning, which must come right under the macro environment analysis. Right? I wanted you to do a few tools after that. The Porter's 5 forces industry analysis. I have not done it here. I've only given you the drivers here because it's a simple tool and I want all of you to deviate, to improvise, to be different. Otherwise, all of you will end up only looking at my answer and reproducing it. So that is not a very good thing to do because the examiner will call it a formulaic assignment, a formulaic assignment. So these simple tasks, I want you to be original and create. There are many A grades for this. This is the stakeholder analysis. What are the expectations, the level of power and interest? Every A grade would have it. Some of you can do the 7 markets model if you want to, because there's no question on stakeholders. So you can stick to maybe the power and interest Mandela matrix and the expectation analysis, right? Then we looked at last week, task 1A. We looked at consumer needs analysis. Now you had only 500 words. So some of you asked me, Louis, how many points do we need to talk about? Do we talk about 2 behavioral insights, 3 behavioral insights, or all 4? The answer to that question is CIM. In CIM, there is no one best way to answer. There is no one best way to answer in CIM. You will see that when we look at the A grades for 1B today. Again, this question has been repeated, task 1A, and I shared many A grade answers with you. Many A grade answers with you, including the Disney case study that had been tested before. And you saw this theory, which is the Howard and Seth model, analyzed in that. If you want to, you can do that as well. So be bold, right? Differentiate your answer. Don't just copy what I have done here. Change the wording, change the formats, be bold. I am here to only guide you, okay, and help you. But this is your assignment. This is your masterpiece. This is your canvas. It is not my case study. It is your case study. So I'm only here for you, for you to get an understanding of one way of thinking. But there are many, many ways in that you can think and approach an answer in CIM. So marketing is not a subject like mathematics, okay, where you'll have one answer. Marketing, there can be many approaches, many answers, right? So please don't only think of one answer and say that is a great answer. There's no other way to think in marketing. That is wrong. It's completely wrong, right? So there are many ways to get an A grade. So think, improvise. Don't only look at my way and say that is the only possible way. No, that is not correct, right? Again, I have helped you out with some comparative analysis. I wanted you to include the DPEP numbers here. And then we have some details about Universal Studios, Merlin Entertainment, Six Flags that merged with Cedar Fair, and also SeaWorld, right? So this is one format. All the A grades have different formats that you can borrow from. So I have seen it like this. And then you have to also look at strategic group mapping, which is a must. You can use any of these two on either side, high and low, and develop the strategic group. Make sure you cluster them. And then you can do the comparative capability analysis and rate and rank and derive overall score. So that too we discussed last week. I'm just doing a quick recap. We then looked at the value chain analysis, which you can also do, Porter's value chain analysis, internal analysis tool. So this is another tool that you can link in task 1A, because if you check the guidance notes asks you to also discuss implications on the value chain. In terms of organization culture, there are many tools that you can use, right? We discussed this as well last week. You can talk about the cultural web if you want to. You can talk about the cultural web, right? You can talk about the Shane's theory of culture, where you understand the 3 elements, artifacts and behaviors, espoused values, basic assumptions and beliefs. Again, all A grades have done this. And I have done some analysis here to show you under each area. And you can link this in task 1A, even in 1B, no problem. So triple bottom line should actually not come here, right? Triple bottom line, let's take it out, okay? Triple bottom line is not to do with the culture, it's to do with sustainability and CSR. We will analyze that separately. We will analyze. So please take it out from your Excel sheet, okay? Please take it out from your Excel sheet under culture. That should not be there. So many A grades have done the cultural web. I have here given you some insight on Shane's 3 elements of culture, artifacts and behaviors, espoused values, and basic assumptions. Again, there's a lot of case material on culture that you can use in task 1 as well as in task 2. Okay, so analyzing the culture of DPEP using a theory will be helpful. Okay, so I want to talk to you about today's task 1B, right? Before I go into the strategic intent, I want to talk about the resource and capability analysis. The resource and capability analysis. So in terms of the current strategic capabilities, you have the current unique resources. So I saw the loyal customer base as a unique resource. Some of these are also advantages because it's internal. Strategic alliances and acquisitions and joint ventures is a unique resource that you have, right? Again, I hope you know this theory. Please watch the video otherwise. The strategic capabilities of the organization is a function of your resources and competences. Resources and competences. Sampat saha nipunata. Sampat saha nipunata. Right? Resources and competences. Those are the organization strategic capabilities. So it has all these very good strengths or resources. Good corporate reputation, brand equity, financial strength and investment ability, rich heritage and history, a large product and service portfolio. Of course, you're only doing one area for your case study. Operational excellence, you can't be a theme park without having very good operations. You have a market-led or a market-oriented culture. Autonomous, decentralized structure, which is something very unique that you have succeeded in achieving as an organization, right? The case study talks about that. Then your competencies, I put this as current and new, because I believe when we come to task 2, we need to talk about strategic options. We need to talk about strategic options. So in talking about strategic options, we might need to give in some recommendations, right? So therefore, we need to understand what we believe are the current competences. What are competences? Competences are things that we do sufficiently better than our competition. We are competent in them. It can be an activity, it can be an initiative, it can be a production process, right? So our current core competencies are, right, we do a fair bit of strategic CSR and sustainability, the case study tells us. I saw that as a current competency. We are also managing operations well, corporate governance record, strategic stakeholder engagement in terms of all the governments, regulators, because you operate in so many markets, strategic alliances and acquisitions. You have grown exponentially through strategic alliances and acquisitions. Merchandising, you have a very good merchandising strategy. So that is also a strong competency. Content creation and storytelling, the case study tells us that we have a lot of interesting characters, movies, and we keep the brand fresh, right, with new content and storytelling. That is the vision of our founder, Disney. Customer lifetime value management, cross-selling, big data can be a competency that you have. So, I mean, based on the case material, I'm taking a judgment. Maybe if you think it's inadequate, you can put it as a new competence. So in terms of new competences, I found that we need to start with some marketing research, because the case study tells us that localization is important, which means we need more insights from emerging local markets. You can't just only apply what is happening in the US culture everywhere. You need to localize. So, you know, the case study tells us that you need to do a comprehensive marketing audit, and the marketing audit must be dynamic, not static. You should continuously do it so that you understand the post-pandemic emerging market consumer behavior. And market research, marketing auditing is very important. I also believe that our training and development can improve. We can propose a DPEP university where our staff can get qualified, and there will be structured educational programs, maybe some online, maybe some inside the park, maybe some in classroom, so that we foster continuous learning and have a proper uh, purpose for training and development. So a Disney University is something that or a college, a university college, or whatever it is something that we can propose. Because you're diversified, you're going into so many kinds of businesses. So one thing that you don't have is a proper structured training and development program for all your staff, which is not mentioned in the case study, right? Sharing best practices is something that we need to foster. Consumer behavior is changing globally, so we need to have mechanisms to understand that, and then see what implications that would have towards the products and services we offer. In terms of disruptive innovations and new product development, right? So we have certain incubation programs. We have certain products and processes. For instance, Imagineering is one thing that we do. But today, with the advent of 5G, with the advent of AI, or what we call regenerative AI, right? And technology is changing so fast. Today, we are talking about the metaverse. The metaverse. Today, you can see even companies like Ray-Ban has signed up with Meta to create smart glasses. So the question is, what have we done with Meta? What have we done with Google using their technology of GPS tracking? They have so many interesting technologies in-house. Meta also has, from a social media side, they have Instagram, they have WhatsApp, Facebook, and so many other kinds of solutions, from smart glasses to the Oculus, to so many kinds of solutions. But the case study doesn't tell us that we have a strategic partnership with them, right? So we need to see how we need to envision the future of a theme park. Of course, to a certain extent, all these things will also be substitutes, because if you have the metaverse and you can get an experience of riding a roller coaster on your couch at home, then you don't need to come to a park. But then how do we ensure that coming to a park, you'll have a better experience of the metaverse than staying at home? Now, that is something that we can get our engineers who are also Imagineering, the creative guys. How can they create a better technology experience inside the park than the consumer can have at home? So that is something that is a challenge, and it is possible. It is possible. So it's not about just the roller coaster rides and the traditional rides that are available. Okay, it's not only about that. How can we really use technology? And I think I showed you a video, right? When we looked at, I think in the first class on Imagineering, where they are creating a flow where you can walk in different directions, right? Where you can walk in different directions. So if you're wearing your metaverse Oculus or glasses and you're on that flow, you're in the same place and you're walking, but you can feel you're inside a dinosaur land or something like that, right? Because you're also walking, you're moving, there's motion. So technology is like that, right? Where you can't do that at home. You can't do that at home, right? So that is something that you can come into a park and experience. So I think that's the only way we can circumvent the threat of AI delivering experiences at home with your PS5, with your other devices. And how can we embed that in a park and make sure we give immersive experiences? from augmented reality to mixed reality. So the challenge there is you have to do it with thousands of customers. That's the challenge. That is a huge challenge. Okay, because you can't only have 100 customers who will experience technology in a park. You have to do it with thousands of customers who come through your doors every day. So that is a huge challenge. So the only way possible then is to try and see how you can partner Meta and Google, some of these big organizations, right? And see how best we then can, because they're not interested in competing with us with theme parks, but they are interested in giving a theme park experience at home, right? So if you can't fight your competition, join them. If you can't fight your competition, join them, right? Because when the pandemic came about, or now we're talking about looming wars, because there's such a lot of instability. We have, in terms of disposable income coming down, people are cutting down on travel. With all that, people are looking at in-home entertainment, not out-of-home entertainment. So that's a behavioral change. So that will also reduce costs. So this is a big problem. This is a strategic issue. If this trend continues, then you'll only have people around your theme parks who uses what we call the staycation trend, who come to the theme park and go back. They don't fly in from far away to come to the theme park. So you're only catering to a small geography, right? And that becomes a problem. That becomes a problem. You need to be catering to everyone in the world who will come from four corners of the world to this magical place. So with the advent of technology, in-home experiences going up, you are going to have a problem. So it's a critical issue that you need to address. Therefore, disruptive innovations are important. Digitalizing the customer journey, improving customer experience. Another thing that I sort of thought about, which does not really mention in the case study, but it talks about regional wars, supply chain disruptions, global economic challenges. So we should get ready with a very good crisis management plan. When COVID happened, we had to close everything. We had to cut down salaries. We had to close everything. Right? So we have to get ready with a very good contingency plan towards a crisis. So it can be a crisis with regards to some kind of supply chain disruptions. It can be a crisis with regards to you have to close down your parks, right? I don't know, who knows? It can be another virus, another pandemic, another kind, something else. It can be maybe terrorism, right? It can be regional wars, right? Where US get involved in some of the wars that are going on in Ukraine and Russia or the Middle East. Then there's a huge threat. So you need to then have, a huge amount of security. All this becomes a big problem. So you need to understand the issue of all possible threats, right, that can happen, and prepare for a crisis management plan. Because when the crisis happens, even if it's something to do with maybe the weather patterns, right? If a crisis happens, you need to be ready. You can't at that point think, what do I do now? Right? A lean management, economies of scale. This is something also that you need to master. You're firing a lot of people, but then how can you improve productivity and practice lean management? Succession planning. You have a huge problem of skilled labor shortages as well as globalization. So these are some of the competencies. You can move it around, right? That I saw as current and new. Then I have done some analysis on branding. We will look at this when we come to task 2A. Task 2A is on branding. So we will look at this when we come to branding. Okay. Now, shall we go to the strategic intent? So the current vision, so your strategic intent is your vision, mission, and values. Okay. Your current vision is given in the case study. Your current vision says it aims to be one of the world's leading producers and providers of entertainment and information, using its portfolio of brands to differentiate content, services, and consumer products. So I sort of found that this is there are lots of gaps in this, right? So if you look at it, I have a critical evaluation. I'm asking some questions, right? How long have we used this for? Is it outdated? Do we need to update it to reflect the new normal? Does the strategic intent, is it aspirational? Does it enthuse? Does it gain commitment? Does it stretch performance of the staff? So I have proposed a new for each of the areas. I'll explain that why. So I believe that the vision lacks a vivid description of the future. This comes from theory. The vision does not specify what business we are in, right? And in the values, would words like quality, optimism, right, be cliched and subjective, like quality? When you say our value is to deliver quality, so as opposed to what, right? So even words like optimism, I believe they're not very strong words because it can be relative to what, right? So I'm saying it's a very cliched and subjective. So you need to relook at that. Is the vision mission too long? Can it be remembered and recalled by staff? Should it be concise? So I've made it shorter. Should we have a greater focus on edutainment? Because edutainment is something that we really focus on. Should we refine our strategic intent to be more aggressive? Would the competitor intent be much more ambitious? Our competitors' intents, we need to check what those are. Is the founders' brand ethos captured in the strategic intent? So that's a question that we need to ask, right? How about a big, hairy, audacious goal? That's theory. Should the mission be more specific and clarify the overall purpose, what business we are in, how do we make a difference, and why we are doing this? So these are some questions I asked, right? You don't need to put this down in the audit. There are some questions, right? And I have proposed a new vision to be the world's most sought after entertainment company, delivering the magic of happiness. So I've kept it short. You can even coin something, it doesn't matter, right? So I believe that we are in the business of delivering happiness and the magic of happiness. When you come through the walls into Disneyland, that's why it's called the magic kingdom. It transforms you to a magical place. You forget all your problems. You forget the rest of the world exists. You come to a different place, right? So to be the world's most sought after entertainment company, delivering the magic of happiness, I've kept it short and I've kept it interesting, I believe, right? Look at the mission to entertain, inform, and inspire. I mean, it's a very long mission. People around the globe through the power of unparalleled storytelling, reflecting the iconic brands, creative minds, and innovative technologies that make us the world's premier entertainment company. I think this is more of it's good for a annual report kind of exercise. But to staff to really internalize it, it must be remembered. So can they even remember this mission statement? I don't. It's too long. So I'm just making it much more specific. I'm just saying, how can we be the best content creator of the decade? this current decade, this next 10 years, how can we be the best content creator? If we can create content that is the best for the next 10 years, right? And if we can sustain that, because when you create the best content, it just has a knock-on effect on all our businesses, because that content is so strong. Like, that song, Let It Go. Okay. That's a very, very, very strong content. If you look at that movie, uh, if you look at the characters and the song, children are crazy about it. Children are crazy. Not only children, adults are also crazy about it. And I personally, witnessed it when I was in Disneyland in Orlando, in December. There was a show, outdoor show, and Mickey Mouse comes first, Minnie Mouse, all the Donald Duck, everyone comes, right? People are shouting and happy. But finally, when that character comes and starts singing Let It Go, everyone just goes crazy. Everyone just goes crazy. Adults and everyone singing it, right? Let it go, let it go. It's so emotional, right? So that is that. Without doing that, Disneyland is nothing. Disneyland is nothing. And it tells us that there was a time when Disneyland did not create innovative content. It was supposed to be then not innovative. Because when you don't have innovative content, right? Moana was also good, but I think uh, this particular character, I forget the name, but can you remember the name? My daughter is sleeping, otherwise I would have asked her. Elsa. Elsa is just crazy. People are crazy about Elsa, right? And Elsa merchandise is just gone through the roof. Elsa merchandise is just going through the roof. So all you need is to be the best content creator on the planet for the next 10 years, which means it has a knock-on effect on all your businesses, right? Your streaming services, your movies, your Disneyland, to the merchandising business, the cruise business, everything, right? So I think if we don't excel in this, and if someone else does this, if Universal does it better than us, we will lose the plot. So you can say entertain, inform, inspire, all that. But if you lose the plot on being the best content creator on the planet, and someone else occupies that position, you're done. As an organization, you're irrelevant. So to me, we are lucky in the past many years, we have done that well. But we have to continue to do that. So therefore, I'm just saying that is our mission. That is our mission. If I'm running this company, that's how I see it. Everything else, the iconic brand, creative minds, and all those are a result of this to me. All those are secondary, and they are a result of doing this. Because if you don't do this, by doing all that, if you don't do this, you will not succeed as an organization. And you are saying world's premier entertainment company, but what do you do to be the premium entertainment company? That is what is important. Something specific, because to me, a mission is something that you go and finish and achieve, right? So that is the mission. Comes from the military. The word comes from the military. It is to a mission, a task, a duty, or a purpose. That's a definition of a mission. It's a task, it's a duty, or a purpose. So you have to conquer the mission. You have to finish the mission. So in the next 10 years, we can't lose this battle. And then in terms of values, our current values are optimism, innovation, decency. I think it's the old fashioned, things like decency and all important, right? But also like innovation, optimism, community, like, so I'm saying, okay, right, we will take some level of the traditional values, but I'm also saying, let's make this brand youthful. Let's make this brand youthful, right? So, and it should also be easily remembered. So I used the word Disney, and I took some values, okay, decency, innovative, storytelling, and I took this word noble, okay? We have to be a noble company, right? Because we have the whole CSR and the corporate governance piece, edutainment, and youthful. So I'm a marketing consultant, right? So I'm saying throw your values away. Our Disney values are Disney, easy to remember, right? Decency, innovative, storytelling, noble, edutainment, youthful. Everyone can remember it now. All staff can remember it. Disney values is Disney, right? And what's our mission? Best content creator of the decade. Achievable. What's our vision? Most sought after entertainment company delivering the magic of happiness. Happiness is something that this world needs. Forget where you are coming from for 5 minutes. When you come inside, you transform into a new magical, it's a place of magic, happiness. You are a hero if you are a parent, if you bring your child to Disneyland. So to me, I've kept it short and I have redefined our strategic intent. So please do the same thing. Be creative. Don't copy what I have given. Be creative. Okay. Any questions? Anything to clarify? Can you please type if you have anything to clarify? Excel shared today, not up to the value chain. No, Excel shared up to all these areas. I have shared this current one that I'm showing you. Yeah, Frozen is also 11 years old. Correct. Correct. Also, right, 11 years old. But it's still a hit. So that's why to me, how do you be the best content creator of the decade? Of course, COVID took about 2-3 years out of everyone. Okay. But if we don't do that, we will be doomed. Yeah, you can, Faisal, experience with content. Yes. So I'm just giving you my thoughts. Like I told you, there's no one best way of thinking in marketing. Okay, you can think in so many different ways. My job is to give you my view, but that is not the only way of thinking. Please don't think that in marketing there's one best way. That's wrong. That is completely wrong, guys. So be imaginative. Let your creativity come out. You can always fall back on what I have given now. You can always fall back, but you be creative. This is your canvas. Think and improvise, deviate, be original. Don't go out of complete context and do Amden. Okay? Right? You know Amden, no? Ah, you know Amden story, right? Out of context. Always out of context. Don't do that. Stay within context, right? And always deliver uh, what the examiner wants to see, but be original. Don't copy anyone. Okay, but you can always fall back on what I've given you. Right? Good. So let's look at the question, guys. Let's look at the question. Okay. Let's look at the question. So 1B, 1B has been repeated. You're very lucky. 1B has been repeated. Right? The command word is appraise. Appraise. So the meaning of appraise. So the past paper we have Vodafone, 750 words, same as your word count. That's also 1B. Assessment criteria is the same, word count is the same, task is the same, marks are the same. Only difference is the company. Only difference is the company. So if you want to go and look at Vodafone strategic audit to see how they have analyzed, to answer 1B, all the A grades are there on the portal. Same question, critically appraise strengths and weaknesses of Vodafone Group PLC to assess its readiness to deliver its vision and mission. Same question, only difference is the word DPEP. That's the only difference, right? So if you look at the question, critically appraise the strengths and weaknesses of DPEP to assess its readiness to deliver its vision and mission, right? 750 words, 15 marks, assessment criteria is the same. Okay, so I have given you the indicative content in the assessment criteria. Feel free to use any of that knowledge as well. This is what we discussed. This is what we discussed. So you can include that in the strategic audit, right? Now, in terms of the answer plan, before I go into, like, there's no big answer plan here as such, because if you look at the question, this question talks about the strengths and weaknesses that you can gather from the strategic audit. So the strategic audit has many strengths and many weaknesses, right? So you can take a few strengths, and then you can evaluate it, and then talk about the readiness to deliver the vision and mission. You can give a rating. So this is a A grade answer. I will go into A grade answers. I have given you, I think, over 60 A grade answers. Almost no, 58 A grade answers. Right. So please look at it. I have put it as part 1, part 2, and part 3. Part 1, part 2, and part 3. Please look at it. Okay. It's uploaded to Google Classroom. So as you can see, this question started with strengths. It has taken 2 strengths. So in your audit, maybe you would have had 9, 10 strengths, but it has only taken 2 strengths, right? And then it has taken a weakness, right? Only one weakness, right? So you can't take all the strengths and all the weaknesses. You need to pick and choose, okay? Here's another student's work. This student has used a table. What are the strengths? And then it has gone into a comparative advantage. Is it a temporary, a partial comparative advantage, or is it a sustainable comparative advantage? What are the areas for improvement? And impact area on the vision and mission, and the level of readiness. I'll show you this answer. I'll show you this answer. Then it has taken, and then we look at another one. Strengths, you can see in one column, few. Resources and capabilities. Again, you can link the audit there, what we discussed before. Strategic implication on the vision and mission. Areas to develop. What are the recommendations? And the readiness to deliver. Readiness to deliver the vision and mission. Right? So my advice to you is, so here's another format. Here's another format. What are the strengths? Strategic capability, link the strategic audit. What are the areas for improvement? And the impact on the vision and mission. Then the readiness is there, moderate, high readiness. Right? So my advice to you is, try and pick a template that you want to use. There are many, many templates available. That's the purpose of me showing you this. You can also analyze this kind of thing in the strategic audit. I have given you what are the current unique resources, what are the current core competencies. You can analyze this kind of thing using the Rio framework here, right? Here's another way. You can use the Hamel and Prahalad framework to analyze the resources and competences, right? I'm just showing you some samples of resource analysis. SWOT analysis you've done already. Another theory you can use here is the McKinsey's 7S's internal analysis, right? I have not given you that in my slides. So it is a simple, straightforward theory. McKinsey's 7S's analysis. I like you to do this if you can, right? Cultural web. Then Shane's 3 levels of culture, I have given you that. But the cultural web, a small cultural web like this can be useful. Do only one, don't use both tools. Again, samples of cultural webs from A grades. Can you see how short it is? Don't write too much, just to analyze the culture. Then the Shane's 3 levels of culture, this theory, I have given you this, right? This is for the Toyota case study, but I have given you for your case study today. Again, the Shares theory. Then the strategic intent. This is for another case study. I'm showing you a screenshot of the student's work, right? Current vision statement and the new. Okay, some level of analysis there. So you can create some analysis on the strategic intent as well. You can do, if you want, innovation audit, right? Here's an example of innovation audit, but that is only if you think it is necessary, if you're going to use it, right? This is a sample of innovation audit. Triple bottom line is another area that you can discuss, right? You can use this even in task 2, in task 2B for strategic options. So triple bottom line is another theory you can use. I'm showing you all examples here, right? That you can use in the strategic audit. So coming back into the answer. So again, introduction, you can use citations, discuss the importance of leveraging the company's strengths, how you would overcome its weaknesses to fulfill its vision and mission. So short paragraph, maybe you can use some citations. But the body of the answer here, I don't really have a structure, to give you in this, but I'm going to show you many A-grade answers, and I want you to benchmark a structure, right? You can use a table format in the body of the answer, and there are so many variety of methods because it only asks you to analyze the strengths and weaknesses, and then to see whether it is in line to deliver the vision and mission or not, right? So I don't want to then put all the strengths here and all the weaknesses here because you already have it in the SWOT analysis, right? So you have to pick and choose the strengths and weaknesses you want to use, and what is a template you are going to use for the same answer. It has been done, right? There are A-grade answers, almost 60 I've given you. Select what you want to do and put the data inside there. And then when I look at it, I will tell you whether I buy your answer or not. So you can link internal environment tools such as SWOT, if you want to do the TOES matrix, financial performances, any charts, graphs, stakeholder analysis, resource and competency audit, the VRIN or VRIO framework, value proposition analysis, McKinsey's 7Ss, which is an internal analysis tool, innovation audit, cultural audit, CRM, not really required, but if you want to do it, triple bottom line, product life cycle, BCG matrix, and using the assessment criteria if you want to build your answer. So there are many tools that you can use in the audit that you want to link it to this task, but primarily you have to take only a few strengths and a few weaknesses, and I think that is there in your SWOT analysis. Okay, so charts and graphs, tables, you can use a few with some internal data where you show forecasts, growth of revenue, profits, visit numbers, all that is possible. Reach a conclusion for each point. Now, this is very, very important. After you select a template, you need to be conclusive for each strength or each weakness. Where you be conclusive and talk about DPEP's readiness. Is it high, medium, or low? Is it high, medium, or low? So you need to be conclusive. You can't let the examiner figure it out. If you look at every single A-grade answer, that is done. If you don't do that, then you won't score good marks there. Definitely not get an A, right? Discuss new strengths which DPEP needs to develop, benchmarking key strengths of competitors which you have analyzed in the competitor analysis. Identify any vulnerable weaknesses which DPEP needs to overcome in order to achieve its strategic intent. You can have weaknesses and then you can have vulnerable weaknesses, big weaknesses. strategic level critical appraisal of strengths and weaknesses. And in conclusion, small paragraph, comment on the overall readiness of DPEP and be conclusive, right? So readiness of achieving its vision and mission. Now I'll show you some simple A-grade answers, then perhaps you will understand a little better, right? I have shared all this with you. Same task, same number of word count. So you can see an introductory paragraph, nicely done. So this answer here, guys, has started off with a paragraph format. Paragraph format. So that is also a way you can answer this question. More of a paragraph form, right? And then a summary of it at the end of it takes into account the strengths and weaknesses, impact on vision mission, and some level of rating, right? So that's one way to do it. I'm showing you many ways to do it. If you can read this, you can find the best method you want to use. Now, here's another one. Here's another one, right? In this, it starts with a small introduction, good, right? Then it goes into strengths. And can you see the readiness here? High, right? Some level of charts and graphs. Again, it goes into another strength and the third strength. So this is another good way to answer your question. So the difference here is it uses 3 strengths under subheadings, uses charts and graphs, link the strategic audit, only 3 strengths. And then here it takes 3 weaknesses. Can you see? 3 weaknesses. And for each weakness, it uses case material, puts a subheading, uses a chart or graph, and then a small conclusion, right? So you can use many ways. I'm going to show you another one. I'm going to show you another one. Here's another one. Right now, this answer starts with, it has placed the vision and mission. I would ask you to avoid doing that because you have anyway analyzed it in the strategic audit, right? But in CIM, we use positive marking. So the examiner will look at it, won't really penalize you for cutting and pasting like this. But if you overdo it, then you will lose a lot of marks. Right? So here you can see the student has used a very good table. What is Vodafone's strength? And it has taken 1, 2, 3, 4 strengths. Then it has gone to weaknesses, 1, 2, 3. So under that, it uses a template. What is Vodafone's strength? Strategic capability. Then the evaluation of it. Then that strength, how it will impact the vision and mission. And the readiness, is it moderate? Is it high? Is it low? And then the weaknesses, and finally a conclusion, right? So very interesting format, very interesting format. Can you see? The examiner is not looking at one pre-prescribed format, guys. You can use many formats. I'll show you another one. I'll show you another one. Again, you can see a very good introduction because you have 750 words, some level of citations are used there. And then straight away in the body of the answer, the student goes into a table. What are the strengths? Here, 4 strengths have been used and 3 weaknesses have been used. So under the strengths, you can see they are from the SWOT and the impact on the vision and mission, how to improve it, and Vodafone's final readiness, high, medium, or low. Same thing done for weaknesses, some level of financials being used, charts and graphs, and a small conclusion. So the more A-grade answers you look at, you start to improve your confidence. And I'm sure you will pick a format that you can put your words into. Small introduction, here's another one. And then strengths, justification of your strength, readiness to deliver the vision and mission, and a rating. Again, 3 to 4 strengths, 3 to 4 weaknesses should be more than enough. Okay. So now you can see a pattern. Now you can you're starting to see a pattern. This is why I told you this task is very, very simple. This task is very simple, right? Again, here, the student has analyzed the vision and mission in the start, then gone into strengths. Is it the resource or capability? The implication on vision and mission, areas to develop, what are the recommendations, and the readiness to deliver, right? So present your work well. That is very, very important that you present your work well. Okay, right. Any questions? Anything to clarify? Analysis, Bhatia, is for existing one. And you can propose, right? Because you can use it in task 2 as well. Generally, you have to use case material for comparative analysis. You have to use case material for comparative analysis. Okay. Any questions? So 1B is very simple, right? Very, very simple. Isn't it correct? Right? Very simple. So let's complete 1B also now. So by now, you have to, when you're emailing your work to me, please only send me PDF. Task 3 should be completed. Task 3 should be completed. Task 1 should be completed. And the 6-page strategy coding. We will meet this week and do task 2A on branding. And 2B is on strategic options. All right. Good night, guys. Good night. Please benchmark A-grade answers. I'll see you soon for task 2A. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.